All right, looks like we're pretty much bang on 10, so let's get started. Well, welcome to, as I said, our 13 Thoughts Over Coffee. Really great to have you all on board today. And we're following on from what we've done for this week, sort of building on the concepts we've been covering off this week. And really today, we mentioned yesterday we're going to be looking at running two webinars. So just wanted to mention we'll be doing the sales principles that will last through every crisis next Tuesday, the 21st from 8 to 9. And on Thursday, we'll be looking at the advantage of speed in sales, how to get fast enough to win. So if you'd like to be part of that, please just email kiri@thinkright.co.nz or myself, mike@thinkright.co.nz. And building on from what we discussed last time, looking at the idea around your mindset, how powerful it is, looking to give some inspiration as we go forward. And what I wanted to make sure we did, though, was we kept it in perspective. And perspective is a wonderful thing because we do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And one of the first stories I came across that really got me to start to think about this was many, many years ago. A story about a man in a village in a rural town in India or China, I think it was. And he had this beautiful white horse. And his neighbor said to him, "You need to sell the horse because, someone's going to come and steal it from you. And, what would happen if you lost the horse?" And he went, "Look, that's your perspective." He said, "I'm very happy to keep my horse. I like my horse." And anyway, one day he woke up and the horse was gone. And his neighbors came along and said, "Oh, isn't that terrible? Your horse is gone." And he said, "Look, maybe it is or maybe it isn't. You don't know that the horse has been stolen. All we know is that it's gone." And a couple of days later, the horse came back again. It was a beautiful stallion, and it came back, and it had brought 6 other horses with it. And his neighbors came along and went, "Wow, isn't that amazing? Isn't that fantastic?" And because they were wild horses that it had brought back with it. And he said, "Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't." And then a couple of days later, his son happened to be out in the field with a horse, and one of the wild horses turned around and kicked his son and broke both of his legs. And his neighbors came around and went, "Oh, isn't that terrible? Isn't it a disaster?" And he said, "Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't." And then a week later, the army came around and they were recruiting all of the young men to go and fight in a war. And of course, his son couldn't go because he had broken legs. And his neighbors came along to him and said, "Wow, you're so lucky and fortunate your son's got broken legs and he's not going to have to go fight in the war." And so the story goes on. It's the way you look at something changes the way you respond to it. And that's just a lovely story around perspective. How do you see what's happening to you? Now, what I've got a couple of slides I use in training. And so I'm going to bring them up one at a time and get you to start to look at your perspective. So what's the first thing you see when you look at that? For many of you, you will see either the couple in a door in an archway, or some of you will see the colonel with the bald head and sort of wearing the jacket. Okay. So what's the first thing you see? I'll bring up some more, and we'll do this nice and quickly and get a feel on what's the first thing that you see. What about over here? First thing that you saw. For many of you, it's going to be the old couple looking at each other. When you have a closer look, you can see somebody playing the guitar, a woman coming through an archway, and a bloke with a pot on his head. All right. What about these here? What's the first thing you saw? Now, for many of you, depending on the quality of screen that you've got, many of you will have seen the outlines of animal shapes. A dog and a cat and a bunny rabbit. And then when you look closer, you can see the baby and the husband and the wife in the dog, or the couple and the cat, or the mother and daughter and the bunny rabbit. Very well done images around what your perspective is. What is it that you actually see versus what's really there? This is probably one of the most famous ones of all time. I'd be really interested actually in just having you drop into the chat box. What's the image that you see there? Is it a young woman or is it an old hag? So if you want to just quickly jump into the chat box and tell me, what is it that you see in this image? And got a couple of people chatting. So young woman, good. Number of people seeing the young woman. So if you see the young woman, what you're seeing is a woman with her head turned away like this, and you can see her eyelash, and you can see her cheekbone, and she's turning away. Now, if you look carefully, so most people are seeing the young woman, okay, which is great. some people actually can't see the old hag, so I'm going to try and see if you can see it over here. If you look at the shawl over her head, so if you can imagine there's an old lady, she's got a chin tucked down like this and a shawl over her head, and this is a great big nose over here, and that's a little nostril over there, and then this is the lip, this part of her lip, and that's her mouth, and that's her chin tucked into her shawl with her shawl around her shoulders. And so that's the old hag and the young woman. And here's another version of it over here. Once again, the young girl or the old man with the moustache. And once again, one of the most famous ones in the world, this is called Duck Rabbit. So do you see a duck or do you see a rabbit? Most people can see both in this particular case. This one over here, do you see the man playing the trumpet or do you see the outline of a woman's face? Once again, you know, what's your perspective in this? This is a lovely one. Do you see two people leaning into each other? Do you see the pots? Do you see the chess pieces? What is it that you see in this situation? And then of course, we've got the situation where people actually just mess around with perspective. So both of these are images that have been played with to do perspective. What I'd like to show you now, however, is one of the most famous images that actually won an award. It's done by a Japanese designer. And it's going to be, I'm going to put the screen on shortly, and it's going to be an image of a woman spinning. Now, what I would like you to do for me, in the chat box, could you please tell me, from your perspective, is the woman spinning clockwise or anti-clockwise? So have a look at it carefully, and then put a note into the chat box. All right, so waiting for the chats to come in. People have already started making notes. Good. So a number of people seeing it clockwise, clockwise, clockwise. Everyone's seeing her going clockwise. Great. So here's the challenge for you. If you look at the woman very carefully, you can actually make her change direction. So how many of you can see the woman going both ways? So how many of you can see the woman going clockwise and anti-clockwise? Some more comments coming in. Nope. Some people can and some people can't. If you want to jump onto the web and have a look at this, and there is actually a model which will show you how you can see the woman going both ways. It's a matter of perception. So why am I spending so much time getting you to look at things differently? Because what we're looking at here is perspective, and your perspective, your take on life, your perception is shaped by your reference points. Okay, and you are building those reference points your whole life. So your perception, your perspective on life is shaped by your parents, your teachers, your friends, your upbringing, you know, your culture, your values and beliefs, what we read, what we watch, what we listen to. All of these things influence the way that we see the world. One of the things I find really interesting is that a lot of what we read so I like to read the BBC and a lot of New Zealand news. And if I take, for example, what would be a good one? If I take Trump, for example, a lot of the news articles that I read are very anti-Trump, either outrightly or subtly very anti-Trump. And so it's always amazed me how he's got such strong support in America. And then, of course, if you go onto the American papers and you read some of the papers that are very pro him, you can see why he's got such strong support. So once again, a perspective that is altered by what you read, what you watch, and what you listen to. Okay. So what we read, watch, listen to, our upbringings, our cultures, our values, our belief, all of these shape how we see life. And please remember this, we do not see life as it is, but we see life as we are. Okay? We see life as we tell ourselves it is. So for some people, they'll be going, gee, it's really cold at the moment. Other people will be going, oh no, it's still quite warm. Now, not to say that anybody's right or wrong, it's just a matter of opinion, based on your understanding, based on your reference points. Now, why this is so important as we go forward through this time is we're about to go through a time of change. Picking up what Jacinda said yesterday around our change, it looks very likely, me being the eternal optimist, of course, but it does look likely that next week we're going to go down to a level 3, and the people will react differently to that. Okay, as you engage with people, please use your emotional intelligence. They are not us. They will not act the way we act. They will not act the way we think they should act, okay? It is really important that we understand that we are responsible only for our own actions and reactions. Now, with that then said, with that firmly in place, the fact that we are responsible for our own actions and reactions, I want to finish off today taking this concept of perspective, taking the concept around the inspiration we've been talking about this week and all the rest of it, and I want to share with you something that I have found very insightful. During this time, not everybody's going to be acting. Some people are going to be going, oh, a month's holiday, and they're going to be kicking back and relaxing. Some people are going to be in a nervous panic. People will be reacting very differently. Some people will be seeing the advantages that are happening out there, and they'll be setting themselves up to get ready to take advantage of those. So not everybody's going to be taking action. And that applies both within your core group, within your family, within your team, okay, within the industry that you're in. Different people will be acting and reacting in different ways. One of the powerful things when we work with a team, however, is to realize the power of having a clear system, process, and a discipline around the expectation that you will follow that process, follow that system. I've talked quite a lot about having routines. It's been one of the things I've gone on quite a bit as we've gone through the weeks. The importance of having a routine. What I've often found during this time is that people need to be inspired before they act. Now, the challenge with that, of course, is that inspiration is a feeling. And at the moment, in this world of uncertainty, many of us simply do not feel like doing anything because we don't know if it's going to bear any fruit. We don't know if it's going to be useful. We don't know if the whole world's going to change before us. So are you one of those people who need inspiration before you take action? Okay. As I said, in times of uncertainty, it is very easy to feel uninspired. And therefore, we start to justify and rationalize in our own minds why we're not taking action, why we're not achieving very much, why it's okay to kick back and relax. The lovely thing with having good systems in place, good routines in place, good structures in place, is that that allows us to exercise discipline. Okay? Discipline is not driven by feelings. It is driven by systems and by habits. And therefore, if you want to make sure that you're not lethargic and going backwards during this time, look at what you can put in place to help you be disciplined when you need it. People often set goals to inspire themselves. In fact, it's something I encourage, having this vision that's so powerful that's going to pull you forward. And it is good and necessary to have a powerful vision. What I have found in chatting with people who've taken us up on the offer to actually have one-on-ones and with clients that I've been going through, is that the vision just hasn't been quite enough to give them the energy and the enthusiasm that they need. And they're finding themselves flagging in these tough times. When we have a system where it says we need to call this many clients, we need to be putting out this many articles or blogs or whatever it is, I need to be getting up at this time, I need to be calling these team members, I need to be, when we've got very clear requirements that we have to do whether we feel like it or not, what you'll find is that you are far more likely to stay the course. I love this definition around discipline. Discipline is the quality of being able to behave and work in a controlled way, which involves obeying particular rules and standards. That's a definition from the Collins Dictionary. Okay, discipline is the quality of being able to behave and work in a controlled way, which involves obeying particular rules or standards. You can set your own rules and standards. Please notice that in that definition, it is not a feeling-based thing. So, real encouragement for you as you go into this weekend to think about next week. How will you be acting and reacting in the coming week? What plans could you be putting in place? What good habits do you need to be following through on for yourself? So any questions at this stage? Anybody got any questions or thoughts? Anybody want to share something in particular in that space? Okay. All right, great. Then what we'll do is we'll wrap it up. As I have mentioned, we will be running the 2 sales courses. If you do want to be on that, please just do let us know. We'll be doing it at 8, as I said, in the morning, just because that's when salespeople are generally up and ready to roll. Today we'll obviously release our weekly video clip, and we've still got our inspirational things on Facebook and LinkedIn. Please do let us know if we can help in any way. Our resources are still available there. We're adding to it as much as we can. I've started to send an email out to people with some helpful 5 valuable resources for salespeople. If you'd like to get this, do let us know. do trust that this has been useful for you. Have an absolutely fabulous weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you really soon. Make a great day.